words of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jewish Supreme Court Justice at her confirmation hearing in 1993. It is essential to a woman's equality with man that she be the decision maker, that her choice be controlling. If you impose restraints, you are disadvantaging her because of her sex. The state controlling a woman would mean denying her full autonomy and full equality. Shabbat Shalom, Yekarot v'Yikarim. I'm honored and privileged to share this bima and witness the infinite wisdom and leadership of women in our congregation and beyond. Through this journey, I've learned so much of who we are. I'm beyond grateful to the women participating tonight. Each of you has plunged into her soul to give of herself in dedication and depth. Thank you to each one of you personally and collectively. Take a moment to note our leaders in song, chant, and reflection in the program, alongside images and poetry, all written by women. As we pray, feel free to scroll through to implement your own prayer experience. Grateful, extremely grateful to my accomplice of many months, Hallie Beyer, for putting this together with me. Thank you so much. A most heartfelt gratitude for the men, three in particular contributing to this congregation's ruach spirit tonight. Josh Conklin, AKA The Kid, thank you for schlepping from your university at Manhattan School of Music to add spice and flavor to our worship. A boundless thank you to you, Mark Hitchko. I know you don't love compliments or a really long Shabbat Shira service, so I'll just say there are actually no words that can express my awe and gratitude to you. This congregation would not be the same without your incredible contribution. Rabbi Satz, thank you for your guidance and leadership, and for graciously and humbly stepping aside, consciously with kavanah and intention, for affording women the opportunity to step forward proudly and be present with us tonight, listening actively. Telling personal stories and empowering people, women, to tell them has been the motivation to create this format of the celebration of Shabbat Shira since 2017. I realize one can feel empowered when she owns her experience and connect and relate to others' experiences. Every year, this prayer experience has been a journey into stories of difficult loss, hardship, accounts of courage, love, and unbelievable achievement through thick and thin. Women's voices are powerful and our stories have an impact. Last year, COVID made it exponentially harder, and it felt like we've exhausted the model. And then Roe v. Wade was overturned, and I felt a greater responsibility and urgency to listen more carefully and speak up even louder. Many of us last year tuned in online. Let us acknowledge how wonderful it is to be together in person again. Those of you who are online tonight, thank you for your presence, near and far. This Shabbat, in our Torah portion, Beshalach, we tell the story of the Israelites crossing the sea through dry land. We will chant the song of the sea, Shirat Hayam, and note that one woman, Miriam the prophetess, exemplifies full-bodied leadership in song and dance. We dance, we sing, and we also speak up. The Israelites crossed the parted sea to freedom. When will women be free? Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg spoke in 1993 of how women continue to be disadvantaged, that restraints and controls are put on her choice. How can we ever experience equality? In Hebrew, the word for womb, rechem, is the same root as rachamim, which means compassion. In Hebrew, what we hold in our womb, we hold in compassion. We are able, together with our people who love and support us, to make the right, compassionate, merciful decision. We really must have a choice. Women inherently knew how to celebrate, mourn, and lead, then and now. In an interview to JBS, Jewish leader of our generation, Rabbi Cantor Angela Buchdahl, said, I believe that there is an inner moral compass that is ingrained in every person. That is why we were made in the image of God, B'Tselem Elohim. You don't have to teach a child to laugh, it's innate. You don't have to teach that seeing someone cry is painful or hurtful and causes harm. It doesn't have to be taught. There's an inner moral compass that is ingrained in every human being across all cultures, across all time. It is deeper than any law that has been written by any culture. That is the highest standard. Any law that is devastating the dignity and integrity of a human being must be understood differently. It is a prophetic Judaism that sees that lifting up the most vulnerable in our community, upholding the dignity of others, and are the highest principles. We need to read any law under these highest principles. Some Orthodox rabbis say we can't have women rabbis. It's not okay for women to sing in front of us. Why is the burden on the woman? At a certain point, I have to say, I will not accept it, end quote. We have gathered tonight to open our hearts and pray for more wisdom, more courage, more dvikut, clinging to each other as one, and to inspire one another. Let us open our eyes, our minds, and hearts to the light women continue to bring to all of our lives. May this prayer journey, the stories we hear tonight, and the light of Shabbat inspire, enlighten our minds, awaken our hearts, and open our eyes. Our Shabbat lights tonight will be lit and blessed by sisterhood leadership and women.
Finding Light for Shabbat, a poem by Rabbi Jen Gubitz. Maybe this year you've been burning the candle at both ends. Or maybe you've been working hard on a project and said to yourself, when looking at your colleagues' success, my work doesn't hold a candle to theirs. Maybe you had an awesome idea, but by the time you finally got the green light, your excitement was snuffed. Or maybe you had an argument and you thought it had been resolved, but you discovered that actually you were still light years apart. Or maybe in this year, your self-reflections shed light on something in your life that brings you joy that you never noticed before. And maybe in this past year, in the clear light of day, you were lost and then you were found. And maybe in this past year, after periods of darkness, finally, there was a light at the end of the tunnel.
We kindle light every Shabbat and every festival day, the hallowed tallow of our tradition. As you gaze into their flame tonight and this coming year, may they illuminate your struggles and your successes. May they cast the light of comfort and clarity. May they light your path to renewal and return.
Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu.
Shalom Aleichem is on page 24, if you're following in the prayer book.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh, Baruch Hu. Malachem lishalom, Malachei hashalom, Malachei elyon, Mimelech malchei hamlachim, Hakadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech malachei hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzitchem lishalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei elyon, Mimelech malchei hamlachim, Hakadosh, Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech malchei hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh, Baruch
In certain Jewish traditions, Song of Songs are chanted every Shabbat. This biblical text is a passionate and powerful dialogue of a love between a woman and a man. Perhaps it's about the love between God and the Jewish people. Regardless of the interpretation that one follows, there's a powerful female voice speaking openly about beauty and love. אני ישנה וליבי ער, קול דודי דופק. I was asleep, but my heart was wakeful. The voice of my beloved knocks. Love is love is love. Tonight we'll share a few words of a loving mother who spent sleepless night while her heart remains awake with worry, fear, and exhaustion because her child's voice calls. She chooses to remain anonymous at this time, but she's thankfully sharing her words with us. Here we are in the ER again, banished to a stretcher in the hallway because it's so busy. My child finally sleeping, her illness hiding under the heated blanket that's about to turn cold. I sit, praying to God, praying to my relatives that have passed on, pleading for help and answers to a misunderstood and complicated illness, that straddles medical and mental health fields. Apparently, in today's world, we still aren't sure how best to treat a whole person, a whole child, with strengths and beauty and love for others and a whole life ahead of them. I'm alone. The rest of our family waiting at home, waiting for a miracle that their child, their sibling, their family member will be treated and recovered and saved. It's not happening here. I look around and listen to all the urgent chatter between staff and other families. I secretly offer, no, I beg, to switch with them. I could give them our illness and we would agree to take theirs. Can you imagine bargaining for another health condition? Out of the corner of my eye, I see a woman who I guess is the mom of the teenager walking in front of her, who seems to be using her voice rather emphatically, obviously in disagreement of something. Mom follows with her shoulders slumped over and stares blankly, saying nothing, whether on purpose or because she's too exhausted. I recognize that exhaustion, and when she glances over because I'm sitting in the hallway right outside the bathroom where they are headed, I give her a half smile and quietly say hi, but she doesn't see or hear any of it because we're all wearing masks. I hope my expression conveys some compassion. I'm willing to admit now, there was a time in my life that I may have passed judgment and assumed some things about this mother and daughter and family. What goes on in that family? Would I have felt like I had superior parenting skills, or that nothing like that would ever happen to us? Maybe. But having endured the trauma we have over the past 2 years, I've learned despite our best intentions, health can veer off course and illness can present itself in a myriad of ways. It's been my family members screaming out in the ER or the middle of a hospital, getting all the looks, being told by staff and even doctors to stop because they're scaring the other patients. You can imagine that those are the times when no matter how exhausted you are, how intimidated by authority you may be, you find your voice and demand compassion for your suffering child. We have been in front of countless healthcare providers, many with conflicting information and treatment recommendations. We've been accused of not following medical advice, and we've followed medical advice that my child's health and life, that put my child's health and life at risk. I've learned my way around more emergency rooms in hospital than most people will in their lifetime. I could tell you that some of our most impactful interactions didn't only come from the providers overseeing care, but from the custodians in the hallways, the chefs and cashiers in the cafeterias, the pathologists, the support staff. Many of these encounters left us with a smile, gratitude, and invaluable wisdom. And on a totally unrelated note, I can say from my experience that I couldn't help but notice the examples of systematic racism that exist in some of our country's most prominent healthcare facilities. These employees work hard, have brilliant minds and compassionate hearts, and deserve at a minimum more recognition and more opportunities. But I digress. For the past 2 years, I've been an invisible and absent member of the TBO community and community at large. It wasn't my intention when we joined TBO a few years ago. I was looking forward to making new friends, strengthening relationships with friends I already had, making memories, dancing, praying, volunteering, and repairing the world together. But between the pandemic and a very serious and often misunderstood illness that we continue to battle, our world came crashing down. Even though I can't be the member or the friend I had all intentions of being, what I can do is lend an ear, provide a shoulder, or be a sounding board for anyone going through a medical crisis, or any crisis for that matter, who could benefit from our experience, who feels lost, isolated, or is suffering in silence. Although I have chosen to remain anonymous, and I'm grateful for Cantor Galit who encouraged the submission, I would humbly make myself available for those in need. Email me at this inbox, and I will share the address with anybody who wishes to contact. אני ישנה אחותי רעייתי, ינתי, תמתי, שראשי נמלטה, קבוצותי רסיסינה.
I was asleep, but my heart was wakeful, and the voice of my beloved you called. Let me in, my lover, my own, my friend, my faultless dove, for my hand is drenched with dew, my locks with the damp of the night. Let me in, my lover, my own, my friend, my faultless dove, for my hand is drenched with dew, my locks with the damp of the night. Let me in, my love, my own.
Chadodi is on page 20.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your tongue, they shall be for frontlets, and swords of frogs, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your houses, and upon your gatehouse, and upon your gates. They shall remember Shema, and do all of my commandments. Shema, Shema, unto Yisrael, unto your mouth, Adonai, unto
Shabbat Shalom. I just turned 50. As such, you would think that I would have a clear understanding of feminism. Unfortunately, culture, society, professional life, etc., all deliver constant and conflicting forces that blur, confuse, and even pit women against each other regarding a clear definition of femininity and feminism. I mean, please, do you know any men that discuss if they are masculist or not? Through this Shabbat Shira Devar exercise, I've learned that it really frustrates me that I have to evaluate my feminism at all, especially in the context of my daughters and my fear of unintended misogyny or discrimination against them by me. When Galit asked me to participate this year, I thought for sure I knew what topic she'd ask me to do. I said to myself, yes, I'm an executive woman in healthcare. I am angry at the assault on our reproductive rights, which I believe is just a thin veil for gender-based oppression. Yes, I am furious that in my actual lifetime that I have lost more rights for my daughters than my mothers earned for me. Yes, I am really, as a middle-aged woman in healthcare, I'm angry at the medical gaslighting that is pervasive, especially when it's so institutionalized that it's perpetrated by female clinicians themselves. I thought, I have so much to talk about. I will write an excellent Devar. It will imploring us to make 2023 the year of the woman. We will lift each other up and to implore you to be brave like Miriam and take risks, lead, and help each other out. In her spirit, we will demand to be seen and heard and healed. But then Cantor suggested something else. She suggested that I talk about an ongoing conversation that we have amongst our mom group. It's basically a dialogue about how to teach our daughters to love themselves while trying to avoid unloading on them the baggage that we carry of shame that we picked up along the way by overreacting to the clothing that they wear. Yikes, this is gonna be scary. Why is it that every generation of mom has an inner conflict about what their teenage daughters wear? What does this perpetual conflict say about us as feminists? The answer isn't simple, and there are many forces. I was recently reading an opinion piece by Jessica Bennett in the New York Times about Pamela Anderson. Yes, Baywatch, Playboy Playmate, Kid Rock's wife, Tommy Lee, and The Tape, that Pamela Anderson. Given my age, the 1990s were culturally very influential for me. The essay is entitled, Pamela Anderson doesn't need your redemption. She's just fine. And it seemed perfectly timed for this assignment from the cantor. Pamela Anderson's story is about a young Canadian woman from a poor family who was discovered during a freak cameo on the Jumbotron at a baseball game. She was noticed by some male advertising executives at Labatt's Beer. Subsequently, Playboy noticed the Labatt's Beer girl, and what happened next ushered in what Jessica calls the babification of the American female. I just lost my place here, sorry. Including, apparently, a whole cottage industry for breast augmentation that did not exist prior to Pamela Anderson and her famous opening segment of Baywatch, where she runs down that California beach in that red swimsuit. So let's recap. Some men see a pretty teenage girl on a Jumbotron, they underpay her to be a beer babe, then they underpay her to be a playmate, then they underpay her to be on Baywatch, and then what do a whole heap of American women do? Skip breakfast, lunch to get skinnier, dye their hair blonde, and spend their savings to get their bra size decreased several sizes. The rest of American women, of course, stood in judgment. The observed psychology of Bennett by why women actively participated in the male fantasy of the babe during this era, and probably ever more, is perfectly summarized by the following excerpt, and I quote, "A whole swath of the culture seemed to argue for objectification as empowerment. As long as you can convince yourself you're the one in control." This, of course, is the fear of the mother. Whether our daughters are wearing too little or too baggy or too much like a boy, we know they're being judged. If the category is too little, we know they're being objectified, or worse, by men. Unfortunately, by the time we are mothers, it's been reinforced to us at every turn that we are not really in control. Once you really start to think you're believing in our progress, Roe is overturned. Or your employer loses a class action lawsuit for systemic discrimination against women. The latter happened to me twice in 2 Fortune 50 companies I worked for in my career. So we carry this semi-conscious understanding of control and power into the parenting of our daughters right as they're finding theirs. Best case scenario, we attempt to protect and empower. Worst case scenario, we shame through judgment. So what would Miriam do? In the Bible, she was 2 times a hero and 1 time a leper. So part of the lesson is that we won't always be perfect in this navigating this feministic high wire. For me, I try to make the conscious decision to empower and support. I don't always achieve it, but whether she's on the beach or wearing her 3 sizes too big Jack Hughes NJ Devils jersey with sweatpants, I want to be the one that lifts her up. If she can be brave, I can be brave. After all, she's very smart, she's kind, and she's a good friend to her friends. And I firmly believe her generation will fix all this BS. Sababa Cantor, I said it.
page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Bahamidenu Shomreinu Lehaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha V'tarneinu Beitza Tova Milfanecha V'hoshienu Leman Shemecha
The prayer Vishamru reminds us that Shabbat is a sign of the enduring covenant between God and the Jewish people. For in 6 days, God made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day, God ceased from work and was refreshed. Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru comes from the biblical word shamor, from the Hebrew root shin mem resh, and it means to guard, keep, or protect. In Vishamru, we are the guardians of Shabbat. Jewish people have gifted civilization with the idea of this day of rest, which all others have wisely adopted. We sustain a sacred relationship with the divine by guarding and observing Shabbat, a covenant. This sacred day is a weekly act of love and communion, a meeting point between God and Israel. My family observes the minhagim, or customs, of me chanting the blessings over the candles, and my husband and 2 teenage boys blessing the challah and the grape juice in our dining room with an especially yummy dinner on most Friday nights. We value this tradition, we guard this tradition, and yes, we bend this tradition to make it fit into our lives. But that bending is exactly what helps us to protect this tradition of Shabbat. Shabbat as my covenant with God? I'm not so sure, but I do feel that Shabbat is like a covenant with the Jewish people, with our long history and heritage. And Shabbat is like a gift I give to my family. While my family takes a few minutes to recite the blessings each Shabbat, away from our devices and chores, all sorts of little funny and dumb rituals happen. Each Shabbat, they tease me because I need to try like 5 times to light the match. Noah chants over the grape juice in different foreign accents. Shane chants too quickly and almost always sneezes during his blessings. My husband plays around with his yarmulke and he throws pieces of challah instead of passing them. We all fight for the biggest chunk of challah, the insides, not the crust. And I have real wine, and then I fight to keep my sleepy eyes open at the table. All of these silly little things and many more are a part of our Shabbat traditions. A bit of rest, separation from the rest of the week, comfort, a breath, family time, a brief but sacred time, the Shabbat that we keep. Well, 3 weeks ago, I kept a very different Shabbat. I was the mother of a son becoming a bar mitzvah. What an experience it was to be a modern mom helping to keep our ancient rituals and traditions, as Noah chanted from the Torah and gave his wonderful Devar Torah. And then we celebrated. That was a Shabbat that touched my soul. And then, only 2 days later, I flew off to Israel for the Jewish Federation's Peoplehood Project, learning of and guarding our traditions there, and certainly bending a few traditions. We visited the Western Wall, the new egalitarian side, and I scribbled a personal hope onto paper and slid it between the ancient stones. And then we ventured on to meet residents of the Negev desert. We visited schools and kibbutzim. I spent nights in the desert town of Arad near the Dead Sea. We tasted, smelled, sang, and danced to our traditions with my new friends in Israel. Quite a whirlwind these past 3 weeks. But we women, we amazing women, have the unique capacity to pack so much meaning into each of our busy, busy days, both the mundane and the divine, and to guard our sacred traditions while bending them to make them our own. This is how we women find our ways to make our lives and our family lives meaningful. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
As a people, we're slightly obsessed with our ancestors. Our prayers recall the mothers and fathers of our tribe, Abraham, Isaac, Sarah. Our traditions are imbibed with Lador Vador. We even have a perpetual internal conflict between sects of Judaism of who is or is not a Jew. But on April 9th, 1966, on the stairs of the McAlpin Hotel in Manhattan, this question was the furthest thing from my father's mind when he saw my 18-year-old mother. She was in New York on a class trip from Marion, Kansas, population less than 2,000. He was there from Brooklyn for a dance in one of the ballrooms. It was a chance meeting that lasted less than 24 hours. But 365 days later, they married. Shortly after, my father enlisted in the Marines, and my grandparents insisted that my mother come and live with them. While English was their first language, they spoke Yiddish at home, which of course my mother didn't understand. She was an outsider, even within her own family. How would their future children be looked upon? There are many different ways this world decides who is Jewish and who is not. Here in this congregation, I am. But actually, before I turned 7, I wasn't. Because since 1983 was the year Reform Judaism recognized patrilineal lineage. Pass me back in time, though, to Hitler's days, and I'm a prime target for extermination. Give me the 23andMe genetic test, and there I am, half a race, Ashkenazi. Send me to the doctor, look for BRCA genes, test for things like sickle cell when I'm going to have children, but hop on a plane to Israel, and sure, they'll let me in, but never as a full member. Jewish people have been othered by outsiders, but we also other each other. Growing up in a town where everyone was so Catholic that all the kids in my, yes, public school class would leave for a couple hours each week and walk to the church for CCD lessons, we were definitely considered Jewish then. Teachers would be annoyed when they got a Rothman in their class, because that meant no free period for them. I moved to New Jersey, where the kids walked to synagogue after school, this synagogue. When I wanted to join them, my dad told me I couldn't. It might make your mom feel bad that you picked a side, he told me, which was odd since they sent my sister and I to a very conservative shul in New York, where we really felt like outsiders. Fast forward, I'm 23 and engaged. We announced our engagement on May 5th. Since it was also Cinco de Mayo, we got tacos, because really, who doesn't love an excuse to eat tacos? I called my grandma, my mom's mom, to tell her the news, and in her thick Midwestern accent, Grandma says, "Well now, is he a Mexican?" She didn't mean any harm in that, she just wanted to know, what is he? A month or so after our engagement was announced, John's paternal grandmother was in town. When I met her, she fixed me with her gaze and asked pointedly, with a bit of disdain in her thick British accent, and said, "I hear your people raise the children in the faith of the mother." She too wanted to know, what is she, and what will her future children be? While each generation has had their own way to struggle with the question of identity and belonging, these questions and their answers are often in the hands of women. And the choices that each one of us make can have lasting effects for generations. My mother chose to leave her faith and leave her community, which in turn gave me my faith and my community, which I now give to my children. I give it to them like the gift it is, precious and hard-won, with a chance to be a part of something filled with wisdom and mystery, of history and tradition, of culture, but most of all, connection. I do believe that Judaism is matrilineal, just not in the way the patriarchy would define it for us.
We open our hearts and honor our ancestors in the first prayer of the Amidah. It is our minhag, our custom, to chant the Amidah privately. We may pray with the traditional words in the prayer book on page 46, the contemporary poetry in our program, or bring our attention inward and dwell in the beauty of this present moment. Our younger prayer leaders will begin our tefillah as one community, then each can choose her or his path for prayer. You may stand or choose another way to embody this prayer moment.
לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים ורוח נכון חדש בקרבי אתה שליחני מלפניך ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני
אל תשליכני מלפניך ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני השיבה לי ששון ישך ברוח נדיבה תשמחני השיבה לי ששון ישך ברוח נדיבה שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך תשמיעני ששון ושמחה ברוח נדיבה תשמחני תשמיעני ששון ושמחה ברוח נדיבה
לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים ברוח נכון חדש בקרבי ופי יגיד תהילתך
We're going to do the Torah service. Take a minute to say hello. What is happening with feedback? I see a lot of guests here, so take a minute to say hello to somebody next to you and Shabbat Shalom to somebody next to you if you don't know them. And we're going to begin the Torah service. And we're going to dance again, so if you want to join us in the circle, you may. I'd like to invite, for the honor of the Hakafa, Elise Ford, Jessica Exley, and Lindsay Dubman to come up and get the Torah for us. Please rise if you are able, or dance if you are able.
Oh
she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread, she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance, they dance the whole night long. And Miriam, the prophet, took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance, they dance the whole night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance, they dance the whole night long.
All righty. Okay. Okay. You're a Torah chanter tonight. Hopefully you're here. לא לשים, אל תשימו רגע, אל תשימו. שנייה, תשימו. לא לשים. שנייה. We call on our women Torah chanters. We have a recent minhag, custom, the special Shabbat Shira, to call on women who have never before chanted from the scroll. Following the last election in Israel, it has become unfathomable and frightening to see a rise of ultra-Orthodoxy in the government. Women will have to fight even harder to maintain basic rights and freedoms. You may be aware of an organization called Women of the Wall. These women have experienced unspeakable humiliation by Orthodox men who have aggressed forcefully against them, shoving, spitting during public prayer at the Western Wall. The police at times instructed to arrest women rabbis praying solely for exercising their freedom to worship and chant from the Torah publicly. Extremism seems to be more prevalent these days. We cannot stand idly by and continue to let this happen. If you ever feel like the direction of Israeli politics is going against every fiber in your being, consider supporting this organization or many other liberal organizations fighting for justice, peace, and equal rights for all. The rabbi and I, who's the rabbi? Oh, anyway, the rabbi and I, no, he agrees with this. We're happy to direct you to any such organization that aligns with your feelings, with your ideas, with what you believe in, with your beliefs. I'm honored to express heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Howard Blaustein. Are you here? Are you here? All right. No, he said he would be here. Anyway. Okay. Okay. All right. I would like to express heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Howard Blaustein, who has generously donated in honor of this occasion 2 Women of the Wall Talitot, which he has gifted to our Rishonot in 2019. Actually, he gifted 2 Talitot to our Rishonot in 2019 and did so again tonight in honor of our honoree Rishonot here, our Israeli young representatives, Amit Abadi and Dafna Munk. Before I honor them with an aliyah, I want to say that the talitot didn't come. They didn't make it on time from Israel. They were supposed to be like 5, 7. We paid the expedited rate, whatever. Did you get them? They didn't come, right? Yeah, Barbara. Okay, thanks, Barbara. So they didn't come. So Dr. Howard Blaustein was like, just go to the Judaica store and buy 2 more talitot, and we'll save these for the next time. So we got these talitot at 6:45. And so תביאו, שכל אחת תביא את שלה ותעמוד כאן רגע. So we're going to ceremonially address them. אתן יודעות את הברכה? צריך להגיד ברוך אתה אדוני, תגידו. אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להתעטף בציצית. יפה מאוד. אוקיי, so, רגע, אני אביא לכם את המילים. אוקיי, בואו למיקרופון הזה בבקשה. אוקיי. So thank you, Dr. Blaustein, very much for your generosity and your incredible idea and for making this moment that's so special, even more special. I'm excited to honor our Rishonot for their first Aliyah LaTorah and chant alongside our community's wonderful Torah chanters, as well as our Shlicha, Tamar Reshef from Federation, as a statement for equality for women. May this be a first of many times of you chanting Torah. So please feel free to join them in this Aliyah LaTorah. Holly, you ready? Okay.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור. השירה לאדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורוכבו רמה בים. עוזי וזמרתיה והלילי שועה זה אלי וענווהו אלוהי אבי ואהרון ממנו. אדוני איש מלחמה אדוני שמו. מרכבות פרעה וכלו ירה בים ובחר שלישיו טובעו בים סוף. תהומות יחסיומו ירדו במצולות כמו אבן. ימינך אדוני נדרי בכוח, ימינך אדוני תרץ אויב. וברוב גאונך תהרוס קמך, תשלח ארונך יאכלמו כקש. וברוח אפיך נערמו מים, ניצבו חמוני נוזלים, קפאו תהומות בלב ים.
אמר האויב, ארדוף פסיק אכלס שלל, תמלאמו נפשי, ארי קרבי, תורישמו על ידי. נשבת ברכך, כי שמו ים, צללו קרבי. תפארת ומים כנרים.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נור התהילות וספלת, נתית ימינך, תבלעמו ארץ, נחית והסתך, עמזו גאלת, נהלת ועוזך, אל נבי קודשך.
שמו עמים ירגזון, חיל אחז יושבי פלשת, אז נבהלו אלופי אדון, אלי מואב יחזמו רעד, נמוגו כל יושבי חנן.
תיפול עליהם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרועך ידמו כאבן. עד יבוא עמך אדוני, עד יבוא עמזו קנית. תביאמו ותטעמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבטך פעלת, אדוני מקדש. אדוני כוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
קיווה סוס פרעה ברכבו ובפרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמחולות. ותן להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאה גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. אמן.
We are blessed and bless each other as a Jewish community facing new and old struggles. Yishabach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel veLeah. May God who blessed our fathers and mothers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, grant healing, strength, courage, and love to all who have risen here tonight in the presence of Torah. May you have patience and hope and may you feel restored in vigor of body and mind, and know joy and gratitude. And together we say, Amen. Thank you all very much. I would like to offer you a blessing. תלכנה הנשים. תודה. בואו תעמדו כאן. בואו נכסה, איפה זה? Special blessing for our Benot Mitzvah. With the permission of the Kahal, I'll take a Hebrew moment again as their tongue and mind and the language of our people for thousands of years. השנה למדתי את מה שאולי היה מובן מאליו, שהשורש של המילה יהודי, י' ד' ה', בעצם אותו שורש של המושג הודאה. אני מוקירת תודה על שלקחתן את המשימה הלא פשוטה הזאת. מלחיץ קצת לעמוד כאן, ללמוד את הפסוקים ולעמוד בפני הקהל הזה באומץ לב, וגם להקשיב לאין סוף חפירות שלי ולקבל מיליון הודעות בוואטסאפ. כי אתן מבינות, אפילו בגילכן הצעיר, את חשיבות המעמד והרגע הזה. אתן הגשר, הקשר והדבק שמאחד את העם המפולג שלנו בימים טרופים אלה. האחריות הקדושה מונחת על כתפיכן ועל כתפי כולנו, ואתן נושאות את האחריות בגאווה וחריצות רבה. אתן צועדות באומץ קדימה ללמוד וללמד, ולהמשיך לנהל שיח חשוב ומציל עם זה. תודה רבה לכן שאתן מובילות בקידום המטרה החשובה הזאת. הכבוד והאושר הוא לי לברך אתכן בקרב הקהילה היהודית העולמית הענפה והעשירה. The short translation is that these young women are tasked with the burden and responsibility of bringing our culture through teaching and dialogue. They are learners and teachers who bring their teachings to our community every day. I bless you in honor of your first Aliyah Torah. Our community of Bnei Or feel immense gratitude and joy that you have taken steps and should not be taken lightly. You have stepped forward with courage and vulnerability. You stand where it may have been said that you couldn't or shouldn't. You can and you should. May you be blessed with good health of body, mind, and heart. May you be strengthened, knowing you are embraced by this community and the Jewish people. יברככן אדוני וישמרכן. May you be blessed, may you be safe. יאר אדוני פניו אליכן ויחונכן. May you be luminous, may you be loved. יישא אדוני פניו אליכן וישם לכן שלום. May you be joyous and may you be whole. תודה רבה. תודה לכם. משימות מהממות. כל הכבוד. If we are able, we rise so we can lift up the Torah and dress it. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאי לי 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 יאי לה 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 לה
When I was 10 years old, my dad's two sisters were both diagnosed with breast cancer at the same time, both before age 40. Both of my aunts, Marcy and Joan, underwent treatment. However, Joan's cancer returned quickly, very aggressively, and she passed away, leaving her 13 and 11-year-old sons far too soon. I knew back then, even before my family's BRCA gene mutation was discovered, that somehow this impacted me too. But being only 10, I was naively confident that medical experts would have this whole cancer thing figured out by the time I was an adult. Well, flash forward to 2013, and I certainly had more knowledge and options available to me than my aunts did 25 years ago. But now, having tested positive for the BRCA gene mutation myself, I was essentially facing a decision to either wait until I was diagnosed with cancer and pray it would be detected early, or surgical prevention, removing my healthy body parts before the cancer had a chance to develop. Waiting with this ticking time bomb inside was definitely not a viable option for me. I knew I had to do whatever possible to prevent repeating what my aunts went through. So, in 2015, I made the decision to have a series of cancer-preventing surgeries. The time was not right because I was ready for any of this, but because I was quickly approaching the age when my aunts were first diagnosed with their cancers. While the thought of going under the knife multiple times voluntarily to remove body parts that were at the time still healthy was daunting, it was terrifying, I faced my decision-making process very pragmatically. I knew I needed to do whatever necessary to avoid the alternative, my looming, seemingly inevitable cancer diagnosis. As much as I dreaded the thought of all these surgeries and the lengthy recovery process, the thought of not being there for my family, for my babies, was unconscionable. So I embarked on my journey with my husband at my side. He was my rock, and he supported me every step of the way. As much as he and I avoided asking for help whenever possible, we quickly realized that this time we needed it. Our kids were 4 and 2 years old at the time, and we did not have any family nearby. My parents welcomed the opportunity to move in with us and help care for the kids and me while I was recovering. We were so very lucky to have their full support, and it was such a blessing to have their presence throughout this time. The series of surgeries that I went through, going back under the knife every time I was just about to feel semi-recovered and whole again, it was a roller coaster. The kids couldn't understand why after each procedure I wasn't able to pick them up and carry them as I once had. And it was so difficult to keep my fears at bay. Had I waited too long and a cancer had already developed, or would I have complications or issues along the way? I had known all along that my ultimate goal was to have my surgeries preventatively before a cancer had developed. But I could never truly understand the full physical and emotional toll of these surgeries until I was on the other side. I knew it would mean no more children, but I did not realize just how much I would have to learn to accept and eventually love the new me. Now that I am on the other side, I do still have mixed emotions about all of this. I am really so very grateful that I was able to have these surgeries preventatively. I recognize that so many women are not as fortunate as I was. But I do pray that it isn't long until we have better options than just surgery. Every time I read a new research article about some new technology, a vaccine, or an improved method of early detection, I pray that it will pave the way for a new path for the next generation. Through my journey, I have leaned heavily on a hereditary cancer force organization called FORCE. In those toughest months preparing for and recovering from surgery, I had my FORCE family on speed dial, reaching out whenever I needed reassurance or suggestions. I have also met routinely with a support group of women who have been through similar experiences, learning from their stories and words of wisdom. The process of sharing my own story and hearing from others at various points along their journeys was and remains hugely cathartic for me. It has allowed me to give some purpose to my journey, to help support others who are facing similar life-changing experiences. There is one key message that a mentor shared with me, which I have held on to and have shared with many others. She told me to imagine that my best friend was in my shoes, going through the same obstacles I was going through. What words of wisdom would I share with her, and how would I coach her through this tough time? While we are able to give true compassion and empathy to others, we are often so very critical of ourselves and set the bar impossibly high. I've learned that this idea applies to life in general, not just surgery or cancer support. Are we spending enough time with our kids? Are we challenging them too much or not enough? Are we devoting enough energy to the relationship with our spouse or parents or siblings or to our career? We all need to take better care of and go easier on ourselves. We need to treat ourselves with the same compassion and empathy that we so easily share with our closest family and friends. Now we take a moment to say a prayer for healing collectively. May we be generous and accepting of ourselves. May we be supportive and loving of each other. Let us accept and welcome help from others so that we can heal individually and as a community.
We all have people in our lives who are in need of prayers of healing. We direct our hearts towards those in our community. We pray for them and for those who care for them. Please share names of your loved ones you are praying for at this time. as my eyes meet yours. Please find in your program on page 15 a prayer for the caregivers of those who are ill. We sing the melody of our modern-day prophetess, Debbie Friedman, who we lost on this Shabbat, Shabbat Shira, 13 years ago. Please join in the singing. Mishaberach, it's on page 253 if you're in the prayer book. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, last Shabbat, we learned from our rabbi, Zatz, that memory is like a sixth sense in Judaism. Remembering is not just something we do, it's part of how we live our lives, it's part of who we are. We incorporate into every prayer experience moments dedicated to remembering those who are no longer with us. We dwell in loss as part of our living experience and pray to help us grieve, heal, and continue to live our lives. We share a musical reflection of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's story of grief. She expressed that as a woman, she was prevented from mourning the loss of her mother. Women have been explicitly left out for thousands of years. They were told not to feel and not to speak.
I'm 17 and Mama's ill. People whisper around her. I'm expected to be brave. I say I'll try. The day before my graduation, I watched her die.
Gathered in the living room, relatives and neighbors, I expected to stand up and chant the prayer. But the women were forbidden, which felt so unfair.
Count me in the minion. Yes, I know the law. 10 men, 10 men. Please don't explain that to me again. She's been my closest friend since I was born. Now, Daddy, I just need to mourn. Please let me stand next to you. Let me say the prayer. But laws can't be broken. They prayed without me, as if I were in vain.
My
Not many girls knew Kaddish, I was one of the few. But the faith that I was born with didn't care what I knew.
Count me in the minion, yes, I know the law. 10 men, 10 men. Please don't explain that to me again. She's been my closest friend since I was born. And now, Daddy, I just need to mourn. Please let me stand next to you. Let me say the prayer. But laws can't be broken. They prayed without me, as if I weren't there, as if I weren't there, as if I weren't there. A daughter's voice is quiet. At the moment it should be heard. Yiskadav, Yiskadash, Merabah. I have tried to be the person who my mother saw, who my mother saw.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dana Freed. My husband, Jordan, and our family have been members of Temple B'nai Or for over 25 years, and I'm grateful to share my personal experience on loss. Loss can be experienced in relationships, by divorce, the loss of a home, and of course, the loss of a passing of a loved one. I, like so many of you, have lost many relatives throughout the years. Jordan and I lost both of our parents, my oldest brother, aunts, uncles, and some friends. I felt the pain and grief of these losses and sought strength and guidance from family, friends, and our spiritual community. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. This evening, however, I wish to share a story of the loss I experienced many years ago, my loss by infertility. After graduating as a social work major in college, my first professional position was as a foster care and adoption caseworker in upstate New York. I was a naive 22-year-old and working with children separated from their families due to abuse and neglect that opened my eyes to something that most of us take for granted and some children simply do not have, a family. While doing this work, I declared to myself that one day, if I was fortunate enough to have a family, I would like to raise a child by birth and one by adoption. Be careful what you wish for. A couple of years after my husband and I were married, we were blessed to give birth to our beautiful daughter. When we wanted to have another child, it just was not meant to be. After a couple of years of medically involved interventions and being diagnosed with secondary infertility, my husband and I both felt a great sense of loss, grief, sadness, and frustration with the whole process. I remember thinking how important it was to expand our family, not just for us, but for our daughter, for her to have a sibling. So one day when we are gone, she hopefully would experience that sibling bond like my husband and I had. And we knew we had the capacity to love another. Praying for guidance, we believed that there was a bigger plan for us. I remember reaching into my soul and listening to what I believed God wanted us to do, and trusted that we would be directed down the right path. Ultimately, we chose to expand our family through adoption, just like the young 22-year-old self declared so many years before. While keeping busy educating ourselves, I dug deeper into my faith and thought about what it meant to be a mother, whether it be through birth or through adoption. I remember thinking that it was not important to adopt an infant. In fact, I preferred not to. I wanted to adopt a child who needed us, as much as we needed him. And if we can choose, we'd like to have a boy. The poem by the famous Israeli poet Rachel called Barren truly resonated with the feelings I had so many years ago. Oh, if I had a little son, with black curled hair and clever eyes, a little son to walk in the garden under the morning skies, a little son. Finally, after experiencing 2 failed matches, we were presented with a healthy little boy from Latin America that needed a family. Although the paperwork was difficult and the process long, we were grateful to receive weekly updates, and we can tell that he was very much cared for and loved. We brought him home as an active toddler and was the perfect fit, embraced by his new big sister and family. This was 24 years ago. Today, we have 2 beautiful, successful children, and we couldn't be more proud of them. So, perhaps without this loss, I would not have the family I have now. Perhaps my story of loss can give hope to other families struggling with infertility. Perhaps I've grown spiritually to let God lead us down the right path for our family. As we chant the words of the Kaddish, we're reminded to reflect on those who lived and no longer with us. But for some, it's important to acknowledge and support those of us who have lost what they may not have had, only a dream or a hope. As we chant these words, may we feel the comfort of God's presence to heal us and experience a deeper sense of love, faith, and community, and in turn, help others when they need it the most.
Dedicate a moment to dwell in memory and loss and acknowledge our feelings as we remember our loved ones. We process the loss of those we've loved and the loss of the dreams and hopes that never came to be. In our community this week, we remember the recent loss. Our deepest condolences to Robert Humwe and Dana Humwe on the passing of Robert's father, Charles Humwe. In the period of Shloshim, we think of Paul Olson, Mary Jo Glazer, and Mitzi Zerlich. And it is tonight the art sites of Elise Auslander, David Blyer, Clara Bornstein, Jenny Brody, Gary Daniels, Lola Delson, Simon Dreskin, Jesse Feldstein, Milton Finkelstein, Albert Ford, Eleanor Freed, Sidney Keats, Mildred Creedsfeld, Donald McCoy Sr., Esther Lefko, Michael Levine, William Robert Lewis, Ida Lizenbaum, Rose Lupkin, Harry May, Noah Meyerson, Carl Myers, Barbara Piermont, Shirley Platt, Francis Regan, Milton Rockland, Betty Schulman, Jacob Silverstein, Celia Spur, William Tremmel, Sadie Weinberger, Marie Zernick, Esther Zweig. If it is your custom to rise during the Kaddish, please do so at this time. We join in the words of the Kaddish on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all of Israel, to which we say together, Amen.
Alleluia.
for Kiddush, I would like to invite Ricky Bernstein up, please, and any of our matriarchs who are over 80 years old and want to join us in this important moment. Ricky, where are you? You have to come this way. Ricky, this way, this way, this way. Oh, yay. Oh, so, okay, let's just do it here. Let's just stay here. Make it simple. Here you go. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר לצפיית מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה מקדש השבת. And let's invite all of our younger leaders today. Bobo. Anybody under 18? Come here, come here, come here. Everybody. Okay. Let's go, girl. You'll hold her. Maya, that's a white shirt, said no. Chala. Maya came from the school dance. Ready? Bow. Ha. Shabbat. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. A great big thank you to everyone. Please join us at the Oneg. I want to take a picture. Everybody who sang Rega, everybody in the picture. Who's taking it? Can you take it? Oh, can you give it to somebody else to take it and be in the picture? Come, stand here. I know, you should have. Photo! תהיה את זה ממני, תהיה את זה למישהו. אנחנו נצטלם, בואי נצטלם. I want to take a picture. Michelle, Rini, Ellen, Jody, I want to take a picture. שירי, בואי תצטלמי, שירי. Lauren, Jen, Sam, we're taking a picture. Andy. All right, Lisa, you're in. You weren't in it. Wendy, get in. Yay, thank you.